Okay. Now, in the previous class, we learned about presidential and cabinet systems. Okay, right. Uh, Devanga, can you tell me a brief explanation about the cabinet system? What do you know? Like, what are the main features? What are the advantages, disadvantages? A few you remember? A brief. What?
Okay.
What comes to your mind when the word cabinet is spoken?
Well, so where do you want me to start? I'm not very good with
Anything. It doesn't
summaries.
have to be a proper answer. I just want you to recall whatever you remember from the last lesson.
Well, I know they have. I just okay. I'm not very good with summaries. So unlike the presidential system, the president and the legislature have no connection. The president is quite solitary in a presidential system, and there's a dual executive in the cabinet system. There's the nominal and the real.
Okay.
And the members of it's all about collective responsibility, whereas in the presidential system there's no such thing. Meaning, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And there are separate elections, I think, in the presidential system.
Yes.
Yeah, whereas in the cabinet system there isn't such thing. Where so how do I say this? Yeah. What else? What else? The prime minister is the prime minister gets a majority, and that's how he's chosen as the prime minister. And usually the nominal executive goes by the recommendations of the prime minister afterwards. Is that's right?
Yes.
This is very random, but this
that's basically I want to recall whatever you can. Okay, Ketu.
Okay.
What about
yeah.
What do you remember from the cabinet system?
I remember you saying that it was the most suitable for democracy, in terms of democracy than the presidential system.
Right.
And like it's the powers are not centralized within one person.
Okay.
And therefore it's like there's more members in the executive system comparatively to the presidential system.
Yes.
And it also has excuse me, sir, I'm recollecting. Also, so did she mention that it's like interconnected?
It doesn't have to be anything she didn't mention. Yes, you remember. You tell me.
So it's interconnected with the legislative system as well as the executive system are both like interconnected with each other. And they don't have like a distinction as she mentioned that. And also it has 4 sections where the power is divided, namely the state power and the power to command armed forces, and the power over government, and like that, where the head, like the queen, who is the nominal head,
Mhm.
Unlike the president whose powers are like centralized upon the. So, am I making myself clear?
Not exactly, but yeah, it makes some sense. That's okay. I'm
Oh
trying to see
dear.
how much you all remember. So how much I need to revise.
So I'm very bad at talk. If you want me to write it on a paper, I will write it and give it to you. I am not a social person.
There's something wrong with
Okay.
your age. Normally, when you teach it,
No, so the pandemic has done a lot of damage to me.
okay, no, just tell me whatever you remember. It's okay, no pressure.
Okay, so I am trying to explain that there are 4 types of power, and the head of state, head of government, head of the commanding forces,
Mhm.
and
Head
the
of
other one,
armed forces, by the way.
head of
Commanding
armed
officer is the
forces.
position.
All right, and the head of the state is given to the queen, that is the nominal head,
Yes.
and the head of the armed forces is also given to the queen as well, and the head of the government is given to the prime minister. And the reason why all these powers are not centralized upon the prime minister alone is because the prime minister's position is not stable. Yes, there we have it.
Right.
And so do I continue?
That'll do. So, Nimshi, can you tell us about what you remember about the president's position, a president system?
Yeah. So, how do I? Okay. Hold on, so I'm trying to figure this out.
Tell me what you remember, not what you can find in the note.
So basically, so the president is like the centralized power. So he has authority over all the, what do you say, sectors,
Mhm.
and uh, yeah.
Okay, I'll make things easy for you. Mili, can you go first? And then she can join. What do you
Yeah,
remember of the presidential system?
the president, the president is elected separately in a separate election
Mhm.
by the people.
Okay.
But there is also another parliament election for the members of the parliament
Legislature.
and he legislature.
Yeah.
And they are separate.
Mm.
And the president is given the head of the state. All 4 powers are given to the president.
Mm.
He is the powerless entity.
Right. Okay. That's okay. Now, the basic idea you all need to get from this is that is the fact that the presidential system is very stable and effective and efficient, right? So presidential system is efficient, but it's less democratic. Cabinet system is more democratic, but it's inefficient and unstable. If you all recall the advantages and disadvantages, presidential system has the advantage of being stable and efficient, but it has the disadvantage of lacking democracy, right? A president can work alone. The president doesn't have to share he saw her powers with a nominal executive or other members of the cabinet because it's a solitary position. He can make decisions alone and he doesn't have to depend on the legislature for his existence. He doesn't have to worry about his term prematurely coming to an end, right? So if you all remember in the last class, I told you all that the legislature can't remove, the executive can't remove the legislature can't remove the executive in a presidential system. So once a president comes to power, it's not possible for the legislature to remove the president, right? Except there's an only exception is passing an impeachment. If you pass an impeachment, then okay. But that's very unlikely. Passing an impeachment is very difficult, right? So most likely, once the president comes to power, it's very unlikely for the president to lose power. That government would not go out of power until his term ends, right? Government won't change even if you impeach and remove a president. Even if a president dies,
Sir, we can't hear you. Or I can't hear you.
now it's okay now. You all can see me and hear me properly right now. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right.
Yes.
Right, okay. Now, as I was telling you all, when a president comes to power, he's very stable, right? He's very stable because it's very difficult to, it's pretty much nearly impossible to remove a president. If you want to remove a president, you have to have an impeachment motion. That's very unlikely. And even if you remove a president, who's going to come next is his own vice president. So the regime won't change. It's the same regime. You can only remove the leader. Now, I told you the example when Trump came to power in 2016, it's very difficult to remove him, not like a prime minister. So he's going to stay till 2020. If he wins this election, he's going to stay till 2024. The only possible way is impeaching him. But even if you impeach him, his vice president will be the next president. Government won't change. Mike Pence will be the next president, and Mike Pence has the same agenda as his leader, right? So removing him is pointless, and removing is difficult. Even if you remove somehow, it's still pointless. Unlike a cabinet system where you can simply withhold your approval to one bill prepared by the prime minister, and that loss is going to result in the government going home, the entire government. Okay, so cabinet system is very unstable like that. You never know when the government is coming to an end. Comparing to that, presidential system is very stable and efficient, right? A prime minister can't make decisions quickly like that. He has to get them approved through the nominal executive. He has to discuss with the other ministers. He has to make sure that the legislature supports his decision. Whereas in case of a president, he can simply make the decision because it's a solitary executive. Okay, so in that way, as you can see, the presidential system is very stable and efficient, whereas the cabinet system is very unstable. However, since it is very easy to remove and control a prime minister, the cabinet system is considered much more democratic. Whereas the presidential system is not very democratic. The fact that you can't control or remove an executive sort of creates a dictatorship, right? A constitutional dictatorship. So because of that, we consider that system to be a little undemocratic. Okay. So the rationale you need to have in mind is that presidential system is efficient but not democratic. Cabinet system is very democratic but not very efficient and unstable. Right. So in France, when they finally decided to put these two together, the expectation behind that was to protect both ends. Okay. So the French were thinking, if we go with the cabinet system, what happens is it creates a lot of political instability, and it makes the executive very inefficient, right? But it's democratic. But if you go with presidential system, it will create a very efficient and a stable executive. But that's not very democratic. That's undemocratic. So they were like, why don't we apply both? Let's have a parliament and a prime minister and a cabinet through that, and separately let's have an election for a president and let's appoint a president as well, right? So they thought, okay, fine, now we have a president who comes directly from people's vote, who can't be removed the same way. You only have to impeach him, which is difficult. So that way we have a stable executive from one side, but the other half of the executive, which is the prime minister and the cabinet, will be coming through the legislature, and it will be possible to remove them quite easily, right? So one part of the executive is stable, other part of the executive is democratic. Okay, so they were trying to protect both ends. Understand? Any of you want me to clarify that again? You need to get this rationale first, otherwise you all won't understand anything after this point. Clear? Okay, right. Okay, right. So basically, cabinet system is democratic but inefficient and unstable. Presidential system is stable and efficient but not democratic. So you include them both, so you can protect both ends. That means that half of the executive is stable, half of the executive is democratic. And that way, you can protect the democratic nature as well as the stability. So you can make the government more democratic without compromising the stability. That's the idea behind that. Okay. Now, Nimshi, can you tell me what's the first main feature of the hybrid system? Nimshi, can you tell me the first main feature of the hybrid system? Can you hear me? Is there something wrong with your connection?
Yeah. So do you want me to read from the note?
Yeah, just the first feature. First feature. Look at the note and tell me the first main feature.
Okay. Okay. Right. Semi-presidential system is consisted of two parts. A president is directly appointed, and the prime minister. The prime minister and the cabinet are chosen from the
Right. Okay. So that's the first feature.
legislature. Yeah.
That's the first feature, that if you all remember, in a cabinet system, we don't have an election to choose the prime minister or the cabinet. What we do is we choose the parliament. We have a parliamentary election. We have a parliamentary election and we choose members to the parliament. Out of those members, we choose the prime minister within the parliament. Parliament people choose the prime minister. Okay. Unlike the presidential system where you have a direct election to choose the president. So here, since you have the both, here you have the prime minister and the cabinet as well as the president, you do both. You have a parliamentary election, then you appoint the prime minister and cabinet through that. Then you appoint a president through a separate election, right? But this is the problem. This is the system Sri Lanka has. Sri Lanka also, we appointed a president in last November in an election. So next month we are having a parliamentary election and we are choosing a parliament as well. Okay. By the way, the hybrid system is also known as a mixed executive system and also semi-presidential system, right? Semi-presidential. It's not full president, it's semi-presidential because you have a president as well as a cabinet. Okay, Mili, can you read the second point? Second main feature?
The president being the main role. Despite the existence.
Yes, president being the main role. What does that mean? Now that's why you call it the semi-presidential system. Now, when you take president and the prime minister both to the same system, you all need to keep in mind president still has the upper hand, right? So much so, technically speaking, the presidential system is based on the president. The hybrid system is also based on the president. It just, he has a supporting cast here. Like in the US where you have the presidential system, it's solitary, just the president, and he runs the show. In France and Sri Lanka, again, is the president who runs the show. The difference is he's not alone here. He's not a solitary executive here. He just has a supporting cast under the name Prime Minister and the Cabinet, right? Even in Sri Lanka, you can see president is the main role. President handles everything, right? Those four positions we talked about earlier: head of the state, head of the executive, head of the government, head of the armed forces, lead commanding officer of armed forces. All four positions go to the president, just like a presidential system, right? Here also, president handles everything. President is in control. He is a stable part of the executive. Now, if a no confidence motion is passed in the parliament, who goes home? Prime Minister and the cabinet goes home. President stays, right? So, still president is the main role. So much so that some people call it a semi-presidential system, which means it's still pretty much a presidential system. It just, he has a supporting staff here, so you call it semi-presidential. Okay, right. Devanga, can you tell me the third point?
Yes. A part of the executive being controlled by the legislature. The Prime Minister and the Cabinet of the semi-presidential system are controlled and can be easily removed by the legislature. However, the President is free from control of the legislature.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that's the whole point. You have a president, so he won't be controlled by the legislature. Hence, he is stable, right? And you introduce the Prime Minister and the Cabinet who can be controlled and removed by the legislature to add some democracy. So at least you can remove a part of it. So in a hybrid executive system country, half of the executive is controlled by the legislature, not the other half, right? Parliament can pass a no confidence motion or defeat a budget or defeat a throne speech or defeat any other law. In that case, who goes home? Prime Minister and the Cabinet goes home. Similar to a Westminster system, similar to a cabinet system, right? So hybrid means you have a president, it's a combination of presidential and cabinet systems. So parliament can only remove that cabinet part. President stays, okay? So half of the executive can be removed by the parliament, half cannot, right? Half of the executive is stable, half isn't. That's the whole point, right? Okay, what's the fourth point?
Cohabitation governments.
Right. Now, cohabitation government is a little complex topic, not really complex. It's a little complex than what we discussed thus far. So, if any of you all are not clear with the 3 points we discussed, ask if you all have any doubt. Nothing, right?
Sir,
Negative.
sir, I have a problem with the third point you just said.
What's the problem?
like now the whole point you said was to reduce the disadvantages of both the presidential system and the prime minister system, no, sir?
Mhm.
But I don't see any difference here, no.
Well, the concept that goes here is something is better than nothing kind of a thing, right? If you have a presidential system, you can't do anything about the executive. So at least here, they say that at least you can remove the prime minister and the cabinet. Get it?
Okay.
At least you can remove a part of the executive, even if you can't remove the entire thing. That's the idea behind it.
Right.
So, but Ketu, you do have a point. You do have a point. Like it is sort of the same thing. So much so, some political scientists criticize this system, saying, okay, they say that when you put the prime minister and the president together, it protects the good features of both sides. That you can have stability and democracy at the same time. But as much as they are concerned, as far as they are concerned, it compromises both. Now you say it's a stable government, but half of this government is not stable. And you say it's a democratic government, but half of the government cannot be removed, as in Sri Lanka. Now in Sri Lanka, do we have an efficient government, stable government? No. Do we have a democratic government? Not neither, right? So back then, when we had the cabinet system, we didn't have stable governments. Governments used to, be quite unstable and inefficient. So once they introduce a president's position, now we don't have either. But at least back then it was democratic. Now it's neither democratic nor efficient. So yeah, Ketu, you do have a point there. That's actually being criticized by some people, right? Okay, but here theoretically we take that as a point of an advantage that you sort of get to protect both. It's at least it's better than nothing, right? It's better than having a fully unstable government. At least the part of the government is stable, so you can rely on that. On the other hand, it's rather than like in the USA, you can't do anything about the government until the term is completed. Here, at least you can remove the prime minister and the cabinet. At least show that you don't like the government. Okay, right? Clear now, Ketu?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, cohabitations is something that you need to carefully wrap your mind around. Okay, right. Now, let's go for an example. Now, imagine that we go for an election. Okay. Now, imagine there are two parties. Just so it's easier to imagine, I will make the division quite clear. Let's say National Men's Party and National Women's Party. Okay. Now imagine in National Men's Party, I am the leader and Milinda is the deputy leader. Okay. In National Women's Party, let's imagine Nimshi is the leader and Devanga is the deputy leader. Right? Okay. Just follow me here. Okay. Right. Now, first the presidential election comes. Presidential election. Now, Ketu, tell me who will be the two people running from the two parties? Who's running for president from the two parties now?
Sir, sorry, but for me it was lagging a bit. I couldn't hear what you said
I
just
said
now.
there are two political parties. One party is National Men's Party. I am the leader of the party. Milinda is the deputy leader. Okay?
Okay.
Right? Then you have National Women's Party, where Nimshi is the leader and Devanga is the deputy leader. Now, when the presidential election comes, who will be the two people running for the election? From the two parties. Is it a difficult question? Can you hear me properly?
My connection is unstable, but I'll try to answer your questions, sir.
Yeah.
So will you be the one running for president in the men's party, and um, Devanga, who is the leader of the women's party, be running for president
Yeah,
in
Nimshi is the leader. Nimshi is the leader. Devanga is the deputy leader.
Nimshi.
Yeah. So basically, the presidential election will be me versus Nimshi. Okay. Right. So me versus Nimshi will be the presidential election candidates. Right. Now imagine Nimshi wins the election. She becomes the president. Okay, Ketu?
Okay.
Right. Now after the election, Nimshi is going to be who?
The president.
Yeah. What do I get?
You get to
I
you
don't
get
get
to be
anything.
the opposition.
No, I don't get
Okay.
anything. Yeah, or the winner becomes the president. That's all. Others don't get anything. That's how presidential elections work. Okay?
Right.
Right. Then in the parliamentary election, upcoming parliamentary election, who's going to run the men's party? Who will be the prime minister candidate?
Uh,
From the-
you?
Yeah, me. Because I didn't get to be the president, I am running the election in the parliamentary election as well. Who will be the prime minister candidate from the women's party now?
Devanga.
Yeah, because she is second in command, she is running for the prime minister's position. From my party, I am running for the prime minister's position. Okay. So if this election also women's party wins, no problem. Right? So Nimji is the president, Devanga is the prime minister, and you guys will get to be the ministers. The problem happens, what if the men's party wins the parliamentary election? Then who's the prime minister?
Milinda.
No. I am the prime minister candidate. I am the prime minister candidate. So I become the prime minister in the next election. Understand?
Okay.
Now that I have a majority in the parliament, I become the prime minister and Devanga becomes the opposition leader. Got it? Did you get that?
So I lost it a little bit in that part where you said that you become the prime minister.
I become the prime minister, Devanga becomes the opposition leader because they have the second highest number of seats in the parliament.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
Okay. Now do you see a problem? Because the opposition leader and the president are from the same party. And prime minister and the president are from two different parties. Do you understand?
Yes.
Milinda, do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. Devanga, do you follow?
Yes, sir. Basically, it's both the oppositions, right? Is that the issue?
That's the thing. Now, if your party also becomes and you become the prime minister, then perfectly fine. That Nimshi is the leader, you are the deputy leader, you two can work together. But it's going to be a problem if my party means, okay, let's apply this to Sri Lanka now. Okay. Ketu, now who ran for the presidential election last year? Who were the two main candidates for the presidential election last year in Sri Lanka?
Wait.
Ketu, can you hear me?
Sir, excuse me for. Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Right. Who ran for the presidential election in Sri Lanka last year?
Maithripala Sirisena. Oh, sorry, last year. Sorry. Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Sajith Premadasa.
Right. So Mahinda Rajapaksa didn't run, no? Right?
No.
It was Gotabaya and Sajith. Now Gotabaya won and he became the president. Now when the parliamentary election comes, Sajith is running for the Prime Minister's position now versus Mahinda. Now do you understand? If Mahinda wins, okay. If Mahinda wins, Gotabaya is the president, Mahinda is the Prime Minister, and they'll be working as a normal government. But the problem is if Sajith wins, what happens? If Sajith wins, he is going to be the Prime Minister and Mahinda is going to be the opposition leader. Then do you understand the opposition leader and the president are from the same party? Then there's a contradiction there.
Yes.
Right? Then there's a contradiction there. You call those cohabitation governments. When you get a president from a different party and a prime minister from a different party, you call it a cohabitation government. Right? That has happened in Sri Lanka a few times. Okay, when that happens, prime minister practically becomes more powerful than the president. As you guys saw, in general, prime minister is much more like less. Prime minister is the supporting cast in normal circumstances. It's a president who runs the show. Prime minister is just there to help. But when the cohabitation happens, because the power of the parliament is with the prime minister, prime minister becomes more powerful. And president sort of turns into a nominal head. He just has to stay away because his people are in the opposition in the parliament. Understand? Right? So we saw normally a semi-presidential system is, normally it functions similar to a presidential system. President is the main role. But when the cohabitation, yeah.
But isn't he the head of the government?
Yes,
The
right.
president.
I'll get to that. Yes. So when the cohabitation happens, it sort of reverts into a prime minister system where president is nominal. So practically, prime minister becomes the head of the government, but not theoretically. Legally, president still holds all 4 positions. But since prime minister has the power of the parliament, prime minister becomes the head of the government practically. In practicality, he has the power of the government and he is the head of the government practically. But theoretically and legally, president still has the right ownership of the government as